Hello everyone. Today we have Raj Landingham in the studio to answer viewer questions. Our focus today is what is a cult? We had a lot of questions from the viewers, so there will be a couple episodes. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Raj, our first question is: what are the signs that I'm in a cult? What are your thoughts on that?
Social isolation, being cut off from family and old friends, unable to ask critical questions regarding the leader of the group or the group's behavior. A feeling that if I leave I must be wrong, and there's just no checks and balances to the leader's power or transparency regarding the group's finances and many of its actions. If you begin to get that kind of gut feeling that you're in a cult, maybe you are and it's time to take a step back. Unplug, and look over those warning signs.
Thanks, Raj. Our next question is: what makes a cult? A cult.
Great question. There are 3 core characteristics that define almost every destructive cult. Number 1, it all starts with a leader, an absolute totalitarian figure who drives the group and eventually becomes an object of worship. Their word is law, and their followers see them as infallible. Number 2, this leader doesn't just lead, they use specific techniques of coercive persuasion to gain undue influence. Think manipulation, fear tactics, and control over their followers' thoughts and behaviors. And number 3, once they have that influence, they exploit it, often doing harm to their followers, whether emotionally, financially, or even physically. But here's the thing, not all cults are religious. Take Synanon, for example. It started as a drug rehab community led by Charles Diedrich. Religion? Nope. Absolute power and control? Oh, absolutely. And then there are benign cults, like Apple under Steve Jobs. Jobs was the visionary who inspired near-religious devotion, but he wasn't coercively controlling his employees or customers. The same goes for Taylor Swift's fans. Sure, they're die-hard Swifties, but Taylor's not manipulating them or isolating them from the outside world. On the flip side, let's talk about North Korea. That's a textbook destructive cult. The leader is worshipped like a god, controls every aspect of life, isolates the population, and even enforces starvation to maintain control. It's a prime example of how an entire country can become one giant, destructive cult. So, what makes a cult? It's not just devotion or fandom, it's when control, coercion, and harm come into play.
Very insightful. Another question is: can a family be a cult? This should be interesting.
Can a family be a cult? Absolutely. Family cults often revolve around a dominant figure, typically a father, who exerts absolute control over everyone in the household. Imagine a family where the kids are never truly allowed to grow up. They're expected to stay, work, and even hand over their paychecks to this authoritarian figure. Decisions about marriages, dating, and every aspect of life? All controlled by the family leader. Here's the wild part, a cult only needs one follower. That means even an abusive relationship can have cult-like dynamics, with the abusive partner acting as the cult leader. A real-life example? Tina Turner's relationship with Ike Turner. Ike isolated Tina, cut her off from friends, and controlled nearly every aspect of her life, classic cult behavior, until she finally broke free. So yes, a family can absolutely function as a cult when power, control, and isolation take over.
This one might be tougher. How are cults different, if at all, from religions?
Another great question. While there's overlap, the key differences are in structure and control. First off, religions typically have checks and balances. They're governed by systems that emphasize transparency and accountability. Leaving a religion doesn't mean you're shunned or made to feel like you've betrayed your faith or doomed your soul. Cults, on the other hand, are often built around a single, charismatic leader who demands total control. Dissent isn't just discouraged, it's punished. Now, here's an interesting twist: many mainstream religions started in ways that might resemble cults. Take Christianity, for example. In its earliest days, it was a small, persecuted movement centered around the teachings of Jesus, a charismatic leader who inspired deep devotion. But over time, as the movement grew, it developed systems of governance and community that took it beyond its beginnings as a close-knit group to become one of the world's largest religions. So, the difference? Cults are defined by control and isolation, while religions tend to evolve into structured systems of belief with broader acceptance and integration over time. One isolates, the other builds communities.
Is Scientology a cult or a religion? Oh boy, this'll be fun.
Without a doubt, and not just any cult, but the blueprint for a destructive cult. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder, built Scientology as a well-oiled machine of control and manipulation. There's the intense training, constant supervision of that training, and the collection of personal information through auditing sessions, essentially confessionals that can later be weaponized against members. This system creates a psychological web that's incredibly hard to escape, as even high-profile members like Leah Remini or Lisa Marie Presley can attest. One of Scientology's most infamous practices is child auditing, where kids as young as 6 are subjected to the same intense and invasive interrogation processes as adults. These sessions can involve asking deeply personal and inappropriate questions, under the guise of spiritual counseling, leaving lasting emotional scars. Another tool of control is the infamous billion-year contract. Members of Scientology's organization, its most devoted core, are required to sign this absurd commitment to serve the church for multiple lifetimes. It's not just symbolic, it's a psychological tactic to demand unquestioning loyalty and sacrifice. Then there's the concept of SPs, or suppressive persons. Scientologists are trained to believe that SPs are people actively working to suppress their success. If someone in your life, whether a friend, spouse, or parent, is labeled an SP, you're expected to disconnect from them completely. This isolates members and ensures they remain entirely dependent on Scientology for their social and emotional needs. Even more disturbing is Scientology's record of protecting criminals within its ranks. Former members have come forward with allegations that the church shields abusers and covers up crimes to protect its image. Reports of abuse and misconduct are often dismissed internally, with victims being silenced or accused of being PTS, potential trouble sources, thereby discrediting them. Scientology isn't just a belief system, it's a sophisticated framework for manipulation, exploitation, and control. From child auditing to breaking apart families and even protecting wrongdoers, it operates as a machine designed to dominate every aspect of a person's life. That's why it's the ultimate example of a destructive cult.
I hope you enjoyed today's questions, and in the next episode we'll tackle questions like the odd sex antics of cults and if cult leaders understand they are a cult leader. Until then, please tick the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next episode.